Measuring ROI or return on investment matters a lot for everyone, whether you're running a small business, building a personal brand, or even if you're just working on a marketing department, or in fact any department. But today we'll focus on marketing. This is because we all know that marketing efforts requires a lot of investment, and therefore it is crucial to know if those investments are actually worth it. By us continuously tracking ROI, we can actually measure and understand which of these marketing strategies that we are implementing are effective, and thus we can make a data-driven decision to allocate our resources efficiently. Now, there is one fundamental metric that is applicable to pretty much all businesses, including personal brands, if you intend to sell stuff in the future. And that metric is customer acquisition costs, or CAC. These metrics help you to understand how much you are actually spending to acquire a new customer. And by us comparing CAC to the lifetime value of customer, or LTV, you can gauge the profitability of your marketing effort. Now keep in mind that CAC, or customer acquisition cost, again, is a very broad metric because we are essentially measuring everything. And by everything, I mean everything. So from the top of the funnel all the way to the bottom of the funnel, and the percentage of customers who actually end up converting into paying customers. In a simpler language, the total amount that you spend from the beginning to the end is divided by how many new customers you get. Something like this mathematically. But now, with a lot more organic marketing efforts, we can also apply CAC into the work that we do for putting out organic marketing efforts. So just a quick example on organic so that we are on the same page just in case, means that if it's a paid one, which is paid, for example, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, it's pretty obvious here. So you have to pay and then you get the return. But for organic, it's gonna be like SEO, gonna be like content marketing, maybe you go to events if it's free, this kind of stuff. If you are invited to that event and you actually speak and end up selling at that event, of course, then that's the free part. If you're hosting the event, maybe even you invited speakers and you have to pay for the venue and stuff, unless it is sponsored. But yeah, you have to like pay for that stuff. So that's a different story. So in the organic case, we also need to count on the time and effort that we spend on create content, including money. So if you're actually like hiring employee, and maybe again before like the events, you have to like get the venue, that does include into the cost. And again, because the metric is very broad, it is hard for me to go through every single sub KPI or key performance indicator that you need to pay attention depending on the channel, like social media, paid ads, seminar, webinar, and everything that I've mentioned before and I haven't mentioned. So there's quite a lot of channels, honestly. So we can definitely go to some of these channels in detail some other time. But for now, let's just glance over a couple of the most common ones. The first channel to track is website analytics. Metrics such as website traffic, conversion rate, average time spent on the site provide insights into the effectiveness of your online marketing campaigns. Again, this is usually free because you're just optimizing your website. But if you're paying Google Ads for this will be another metrics and another thing to track. But very quickly, I don't want you to get the impression of CAC is just the total money you spend. There's more than just, oh, if I spend more then I get more type of thing. Now back again to the example of the website traffic, it is important that we don't just glance at the traffic that we actually get from the website. You need to always be thinking about what your customers are going through. So for example, if the goal of your website is to get someone to buy your product, but for some reasons, many of your potential customers are spending time on, let's say, the homepage, or maybe even they're checking the review but they stops there. Usually you can check this by like, they have like plugins for this and even heat maps that you can check, so you know where your customers spend most of the time. But after spending half an hour glancing on the review, they stop instead of make a purchase. In this case, then there's something that you definitely need to check, or else why would your customer spending half an hour or even less, hopefully less, on reviews, but they're stopped there, they don't proceed after that. Now the second channel is social media, so tracking likes, shares, comments, followers. This is all definitely very obvious, but something that is a little bit deeper is also important to check, and maybe you even have to calculate this for yourself. For example, engagement rate per post, which is like the total of your engagements, like from the likes, shares. Wait, did I just said shares twice or did I say save? But likes, save, shares, comment, and maybe some other engagement if there's other metrics too. divide it by the amount of reach that you actually get on that specific post. And usually the rule of thumb is anything above 10 to 15% is pretty good. And the way that we connect this to our primary metric, which is the CAC, is two ways. The first is to compare the money that you spend on social media. So maybe you hire an employee to run your social media management, or maybe create a post for you, all the equipments that you get, and a lot of different stuff, with the customers that in the end of the day you actually get. And or the second way, which is the amount of time you spend with the customers that you get. Now, I do have to disclaim, with CAC and a lot of this organic marketing, there is a thing called lagging indicator. And what this lagging indicator means is that no matter how much effort that you put in today, you will not see any result until, let's say, next month or two, or even a year from now. Think of it like getting a good grades, let's say, or maybe go to the gym. You can definitely study all the time today, but you only know if you're getting A's or not after you take the exams in the future, not today. So with a lot of this stuff, you do have to keep in mind of the leading indicators, which is like how many times you post. Again, if you want to go back to that example, whether you're studying or not, whether you're listening in a class or not, those are the leading indicators, the things that you do that leads to the goal. Now that's a bit off track, but I just want to say that just so that you don't create content for like a month or two and then say, hey, this doesn't work at all, I just quit. So that's just to keep in mind. One thing to keep in mind today is that each channel definitely has its own strength and thus its own key metrics that you need to track. Well, now that we know the key metrics, the most important one, how can you improve your marketing strategies based on this ROI measurement? Firstly, you should regularly analyze your ROI data and identify any areas of improvement. By just being able to pinpoint the underperforming campaigns, you can adjust your strategies and allocate or maybe even relocate your resources to more effective avenues. The interval that you should do this is really depending on the channel, but in general, the rule of thumb is that the quicker something moves, the more often you need to track and analyze them. Put this into example. A social media page should probably be tracked every a week or 2 weeks, compared to website performance that is usually could go for months or 2 or even like 6 months. I know like some of my friends who run a business, they will make a tweak on their website and check it 6 months later. But this is also depending on like how much traffic they actually get. If they have like 10,000 people going to the website every day, then they can do that very quickly. But if like only 10 people or 20 people visit every day, then it's a way slower process because of the lack of data. Compare this to running ads. If you're running ads and you're spending $500 a day, you can directly see like how many engagement, how much clicks you get, how many bookings, depending on like the call to actions that you want to do. But you can track that almost immediately. So again, how often you make the changes and the impact that the change can be seen is really depending on the speed of the process. I'm not sure what that's called. A quick pro tip, it's also essential that you conduct market research and understand customer preferences. By knowing your target audience, you can tailor your marketing message, choose the right channels, and choose the right call to action. And this will increase the likelihood of a positive return on investment. And fun fact, this is actually the biggest mistake that I've seen. Even I've made this mistake too, because research is just something that we don't want to do, right? We just, I'll wing it. I know what my customers want, but let's be honest, we're not them, we don't. And another pro tip is that it is very critical and very essential that you continuously test and experiment with whatever it is that you're doing. Just make sure that you do track the results and iterate based on the insights that you gain. Again, keep in mind the speed of your doing this will really be depending on the speed of the stuff that you're working on. But this iterative approach allows you to optimize your strategies over time. And you also need to be consistent in your approach, but do not be afraid to change how you can achieve your goals. Remember, data-driven decision-making is still the key. Make sure that you do embrace the power of this ROI measurement and use it to guide your marketing endeavors.